Well, that was interesting. But before we get to the race, a little backstory. I came to trail running a little later in life after spending the first half of my years playing team sports. It wasn't until I moved to Germany that I started regularly hitting the trails. And it wasn't until my last year or so in Dusseldorf that I started running the trails. And holy hell, I love it. There's not much I'd go back in time and change, but if I could have introduced trail running to my younger self, I'd gladly hop in the DeLorean and feed myself the tip. Over the past 4 years or so, I've done a number of trail races around Germany, Italy, Greece, Scotland, and Spain. I also ran the Berlin Marathon, something I never imagined myself doing after I finished my first half marathon well over a decade ago. I viscerally remember crossing the finish line at the Cleveland Half Marathon and thinking to myself, nope, not a step further. A marathon would be insane. But as I get older, I want to continually challenge my body lest I devolve into one of the Denzians of the starship Axiom from WALL-E. I enjoy the freedom and flexibility of running 20 to 30 kilometer trail races. You don't have to plan so much of your life around training, and it's easier to find the time to mix it up with some other sports. But I also want to be able to say I've completed an ultramarathon. I mean, the word ultra is right there. Who wouldn't want to be able to say that they faced down an ultramarathon and completed it? So with a little encouraged bullying from a friend, I signed up to run the 48-kilometer race in Innsbruck, Austria. Training was going well. The race was just 2.5 weeks away and I felt strong, confident that I could actually do this thing. That is, until the end of a sprinting workout when my knee suddenly felt stiffer than a wooden board and was wildly painful. I most likely came down with some runner's knee, which is a broad term to describe a number of possible issues usually related to, well, a lot of running. Cue the montage of me desperately searching and watching YouTube videos, reading articles, and sacrificing the blood from my knee to a moonlighting shaman in a kind of hyperbolic hopelessness worthy of a two truths, one lie. There was stretching, massaging, strengthening, anything and everything I could do to heal my knee in time for the big day. My confidence oscillated wildly. Some days I was sure I would heal in time. Others, I didn't think there was a chance in hell I'd show up at the starting line. But I went for a short run the day before our train ride down to Innsbruck, and I felt as good as I ever felt since the injury. So, I decided to board the train on that Thursday, 2 days before the race, with the intention of running. Well, now here's the thing. About 2.5 weeks ago, I finished my run. Hard speed workout, limping, and best as I can tell, I got a little case of the runner's knee right after that. Couldn't walk for a couple days. To make a long story short, I've done everything I can to make it ready for today. This morning is as good as it's felt since I've heard it, but it is 48 kilometers, like 2,000 plus meters of climbing, 3,000 some meters of descent. Haven't done a long run since that injury started, so we'll see. But we're here, and we're gonna give it our best shot. Because what the fuck else am I gonna do, staying home? Race morning. I can still feel some junk in my knee, but I feel oddly optimistic that I'm going to do this thing. At the same time, I know deep down that I haven't run more than 6 kilometers in a single effort over the past 2.5 weeks. The only way to find out if my knee would hold up over 48 kilometers with 2,000 plus meters of ascent and 3,000 plus meters of descent was to put it to the test and accept that things would either work out or go terribly wrong. The race kicks off with an immediate, challenging bottleneck. I don't mean to brag, but I could do this all day. The traffic jam frees up and the 781 meter climb to the highest peak of the course gets underway in earnest. And I'm feeling surprisingly good. Climbing is my friend. My knee likes going up. And this is the freaking course. Not bad, right? With the mountain air at my back, things were looking up. But what goes up must come down. Stupid Sir Isaac Newton. More like Turd Isaac Newton. Sorry. I'm just experiencing a little post-race frustration and lashing out at 17th century scientists. I promise I'll do better. The going down is what destroys my knee. At one point, I looked at my watch and saw I had 1,000 meters of descent immediately ahead of me. It was just a Looney Tunes switchback that obliterated my right knee. Coming into the first aid station, I felt remarkably solid. 2 of the 3 major climbs were behind me. Up ahead was 15 kilometers of mostly flowing, runnable trail, the kind of stuff I love and can do all day. Usually. I may have felt solid in terms of strength and conditioning, but my knee just wasn't having it. So it was time to make a choice.
Well, I started this morning thinking, you know what, actually maybe I can do this. And I was actually feeling pretty optimistic. But as you can guess by my walking and, I don't know if you can tell, but limping, didn't go so well. I got about halfway through and just pain became more than a 3, which is usually what they say not to run with. And I would have ran with more than a 3 for the sake of doing it, but I was on a single track trail and just usually I would go flying down this thing. But actually Melanie's race, the K25 came up behind us and they're on fresh legs and I'm hurting, so everybody's past me and I'm just standing to the side. I'm like, it stopped being fun, so decided that I didn't want my first ultra to be this way. So felt like I had no shame in just dropping out, licking my wounds, limping over to the nearest train station and heading back to Innsbruck and get drunk.
So yeah, chalking out my first DNF sucked balls. It sucked tremendous balls. But fortunately, I'm still young-ish and have time to rebuild and take another stab at an ultra. In the meantime, I'm on the road to recovery, starting with a train ride from Berlin to Wales for some hiking and recovery running in Banau Brycheiniog National Park, where I learn a bit about Welsh culture, heritage, and why they've recently decided to drop the English from the park name and what it all has to do with climate change. And you'll get all that in the next video.